Which branch of the service were you in?
Army.
You enlisted or were you drafted?
I was drafted.
You remember what month and year?
Yes, so I think it was March, first part of March of 1945.
So the war was still going on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And where were you living at the time?
At Shevlin, on a farm north of Shevlin, Minnesota.
Okay. And so once you left here, you went by train to boot camp where?
Well, we first were inducted at Fort Strandlien in Minneapolis, and from there we went to Jefferson Barracks, Missouri, for I don't know what all we done there. I can't remember. And then they assigned me to Fort Knox, Kentucky. That's where I took my. Well, you took basic infantry first, just your standard things.
Yeah.
Then we were trained for the Armored Corps in the Armored Tank Divisions.
Okay, you were in the Armored Division.
Yeah, well, I wasn't in a division, but I was in armored training at that point, yeah.
Okay. When you finished the armored training, where did you go?
Well, when I finished, I come home on a furlough, and while I was home on furlough, they dropped the atomic bomb. And, I had to go back to Fort Knox. Then they gave us 2 weeks of advanced training in tank command school for 2 weeks to play in the sandbox, in other words. and right after that, we started transiting to go overseas, and we went first from there to trying to remember the name of the camp in California, Fort Ord, California. We were there for a couple of weeks or so. I don't remember exactly. And by trying all the processing and everything seemed like it went so slow when you're in a hurry. I wasn't in a hurry, but anyway, from there we went to Fort Lewis, Washington, and we were there we done a lot of medical testing and getting your overseas shots and things like that. And then we waited for a boat to go overseas. And if we went to sea, we had no idea where we were going. The war was over, but I don't know, nothing would probably change their orders, I don't know. But we never knew where we were going till we got there. And that took us 3 weeks to get to Nagasaki, Japan.
Nagasaki?
We hit a real bad typhoon. That's what delayed us about a week. And we sat in Nagasaki Harbor for 3 days, just marking time, I guess. Nobody told us what to do or anything.
Sitting on the ship?
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, one night, we went to sea again and went in at another port and embarked at Nagoya, Japan.
What was the name of the place?
Nagoya.
Nagoya, Japan, okay.
And I was assigned at Kobe. Kobe was my first assignment. Kobe, Japan.
Okay.
And I was assigned to an ordnance department. We were repairing small arms and artillery. I wasn't trained for that, but no need for a tank battalion anymore, so yeah. That's where I ended up. We spent about 3 or 4 months there, I guess, at that station.
Working on small arms?
Yes, repairing them for the 33rd Infantry Division.
Okay.
And it was kind of an experience and a learning experience and fun. And of course, at first, we went armed to the teeth. They told us to go in groups of 6 or 8 whenever we went anyplace, armed, which we did. But after we got to know the people, and I respect, they want the same thing in life as a whole that we do, I think, a home and a family, and the normal people, we were taught to hate the Japanese, I guess, but
you had to do it.
Had to do it, and we never seen hardly any of the young military-aged people for a long time. We seen a lot of old people, old women, old men, and young kids. That was what we experienced dealing with. And I don't know, by Christmas I felt pretty safe, you know. We'd go one or two at a time, and not at night, we didn't like to go out, but pretty safe. But like I say, it was an experience. And
did you get to know any Japanese families then while you were there? Or?
I knew some of the people, yes. We had some working for us at the post, and I built a motor scooter in the spare time, and I had a couple of older Japanese men help me in the machine shop work on that, and a lot of gibberish and gabbing, and they knew what they were doing, and I was trying to learn, but we made out, and they were nice. They treated me nice, and I treated them nice. I mean, you know, when you're supposed to hate people, or I don't know if you'd call it that, but I felt pretty safe by Christmas time of '45.
Did you come across anybody in Japan that spoke any English at all?
Yes, one young lady, they hired Armed Forces Education, or whatever they called it, hired a young lady, and we could take courses. And she was trying to teach us Japanese. And she could speak pretty good English. But that's about the only one that I recall that could speak English.
So how much time did you spend in Japan? 6 months?
No, a year, a little over a year probably.
Working in the ordnance department all the time?
Yeah, I worked in gun repair to start with. Then I went to medium maintenance mechanic. That's Jeeps or small vehicles, and where you don't do major overhaul, but you keep them running. We done that for most of the rest of my tour. But I done that at a base near Osaka for quite a while, and I don't remember the time, but 3-4 months. And I was transferred to up by Tokyo, or closer to Yokohama actually. And we were supposed to go and teach new recruits coming over from the United States small arms repair. And we made up our mind, the two of us that went up there, that we were dumb as it could be. So we got out of that job. But they put me as a company clerk and him as a motor pool sergeant, my buddy. So we spent the rest of the time up there. And we was, like I say, it was probably from the time I left the States till I got back, with a little over a year.
Did you get a chance to travel around Japan when you were there?
Not very far. Wherever we were stationed, we were free to go, you know, but you had to be back to your duty station every night and in the morning. But we finally managed to get a little access to a Jeep, so we done quite a bit of traveling around the Tokyo and Yokohama area. And we'd get lost. Yeah. And then we'd have to confiscate a local policeman and get him to ride with us. We'd tell him where we needed to be, and to get us back home, usually after dark. And then it was up to him to find his way back.
Did he speak any English at all?
No. But I did take a Japanese language course while I was there, so I learned a little, but you know, just conversation, enough to get by.
When you were driving around in Tokyo and places like that, were people trying to avoid you?
No.
Or would they try to stop and talk to you, or?
They didn't try to stop, but if we come into somebody and we needed something or wanted to know something, we'd just talk like we did on the street here. Yeah. And if we could gesture enough and blabber enough, we could manage to get where we wanted to go. Were
you ever invited in to any of the Japanese homes
Yes, I was once.
for dinner or for lunch?
For a meal, and
Oh, how'd that happen to turn?
well, when I think back, I think this one Japanese girl, I'd met her someplace, and she was, her father was some kind of a official, government official, I think. I don't know exactly. But they could speak a little bit of English. And I don't know, but I think she was hoping in some way to work out a deal to get to come to the United States. That's kind of what I had in the back of my mind. We never got that far, you know. She was a nice enough girl, but it was something I wasn't attracted to or nothing. So, but they, and I think maybe they wanted to know about the United States, you know, what we could jabber back and forth. So it was kind of interesting. They were nice and polite, but he had something to do. They called them prefectures there, and we call them maybe states or counties or whatever. It's some part of a area that this guy was an official of, and I don't even know what job he had, but they were nice people.
Were there any problems with our servicemen and the Japanese people in Tokyo during the occupation? That'd be very difficult for them.
Well, I would think it would, but if it was, we never heard about it. Because by the time I got to Tokyo, we'd been there occupying for since probably 8 months by the time I got up to Tokyo. And for the most part, I thought the occupation went real well. Of course, I didn't, you know, 18-year-old kid, well, I was 19 then.
Yeah.
What do you know about politics? But when you think of a foreign land coming and occupying your country, how would we react, you know? And I thought they acted admirably, or real respectable. And when they found out we didn't mean them any harm, and we tried, we was told to treat them politely and decent, and we did, for the most part. I'm sure, you know, there's always when you get a bunch of GIs, there's drinking and when you can find anything, and I'm sure there was maybe some confrontations, but I never heard of any.
Well, in Germany, it took 10 years for that to quiet down.
Yeah, probably.
There were snipers shooting at people for almost 10 years after the war ended.
Well, they had more of a fanatical young breed that they trained from young teenagers on up, and they were Hitler Youth or whatever you call them.
Yeah.
I don't know much about what went on there, but
When you finished your tour, then you left by boat to go back to the States?
yeah.
And what harbor did you come into? San Francisco?
No, Seattle.
Was Seattle back to Fort Lewis?
Yeah.
And then you were discharged from the Army? Or
Well, I had to go to, where in the heck, what's his name? I'm trying to think of the name of the place in Illinois, Fort Sheridan, Illinois. That's where I was discharged out of.
So you left Fort Lewis to Fort Sheridan?
Yeah, by train.
And did you have to, serve your full time, or did you get out early?
I served whatever when I was drafted, and they said I could go home. It told me when I go home. I didn't ask. They just told me when I could. And they offered me another rank if I would have stayed there in Japan another 3 months. But I couldn't see any future in it, and I just wanted out, so
Yeah.
I came back home. Glad to get here.
Have you ever gone back to Japan after all this?
No.
You've been
I
there?
kind of thought sometimes I would like to and see the change. You can see pictures on TV. All the while I was there, I never seen a working gas station or an automobile as we know them on the road. And I was in all the big cities: Kobe, Nagoya, Osaka, Tokyo, Yokohama. That's some of the bigger cities. And there was no civilian automobiles on the road whatsoever. They had some three-wheel motorcycle-looking things. Some of them were cargo on the back, and some of them were just people, they'd haul people in them, and rickshaws.
Yep.
A lot of bicycles, and foot. A lot of people just walked. So, but I thought it was so strange not to see a working automobile. I seen one parked. It was an American car, and I don't know what kind it was, and it was parked, and that's the only one I seen that. I didn't see any Japanese automobiles. There was a few, like in the 1930s, U.S. trucks, just flatbed trucks or a little box on the back. Mm-hmm. And where I seen those, they'd go around in the early morning of just about crack of daylight or dawn, picking up dead bodies off the street.
While you were there in Japan, what caused the death?
Starvation and whatever, I suppose disease and maybe some of it radiation, but Tokyo.
Now, what town was this in when they were picking up all these people?
Well, it was where I first was at Kobe. Oh. They'd do that, and I don't know what they died from, but they looked like they were malnourished and mostly older people, and they had no place to live. The houses were flattened, and so I'm sure they were living on the street. And I don't know if they had any government program to feed them, or I don't know, but just assuming they.
So was this a common thing? The trucks would go on in the morning?
Oh yeah,
picking up
yeah.
bodies every day?
Pretty much every day, yeah. I didn't see it every day because I didn't get up that early every day, but it was just about as soon as they could see, and they didn't want the general public to see it if they could help it, but they just take one guy on each end and throw him up in there, and it was kind of harsh to see. And I think the railroad depot in Tokyo was probably the biggest area. Some people would just die there, and I don't know. They were in the city parks, what we call parks here, but they had areas that were nice for people to sit and rest and things like that, and I just think they just laid down and died. I don't know for what reason, but they were, most of them were the older people that I could tell.
But all the young men who were conscripts, were they coming home from someplace?
Well, I'm sure they were, but they stayed clear of us.
Okay.
I don't know for why, or I just never seen. We had some young boys. I think they were teenagers. I don't know how old they were, but they worked for us.
You're covering the microphone.
Oh, they worked for us on the post, and they'd do menial work like in the mess hall and things like that. And they were a jolly bunch of kids. I still call them kids. There wasn't much more than a kid myself.
Yeah.
But that's about it, I guess.
When you came back home, did you go back to the farm, or where did you go?
Yes, I come home to Shevlin, and I stayed around the farm for a while and helped my dad for a while, and then of course, not too long, I got an outside job and I started working on my own then. But farming wasn't by a piece of cake, so. A picture of the parade that the U.S. Armed Forces put on in Tokyo in 1946, 4th of July. Well, the three pictures.
Who are these ladies?
They worked for us in a tailor shop. They were doing our uniforms, taking care of our laundry, and any alterations or repairing. Church the Japanese built it for the U.S. Armed Forces to use.
In Tokyo?
No, this is near, between Kobe and Osaka, Japan.
How big was this parade?
As far as length?
Yeah, you said it was a big parade, you said?
Yeah, I don't know. It lasted, I'm thinking a couple hours.
What was the reason for the parade?
I don't know. It was the 4th of July in 1946, and they just, I think for whatever reason, they wanted I suppose they wanted the Japanese to know that because most of them didn't see a lot of our equipment. It was put away. They're out of sight.
Well, this has been very interesting. Norris,
Yeah.
thank you for talking to me
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, you bet. It was, like I said, it was nothing spectacular. The war was over, it was ended, and everybody was pretty happy it was. I think them as well as us. But we were scheduled to be invading Japan. That's what I would have been in if the bomb wouldn't have dropped.
Good thing it dropped.
Yeah, it is. I hated to think, I seen Nagasaki. That was a horrible looking place. We sat just out away from the dock about.
You drove over to Nagasaki?
No, our ship came in there.
Oh, okay.
That's where we were supposed to start the invasion, in that area.
Probably too much radioactivity.
Well, there probably was. Nobody knew too much about it then. But I could see people probing in the wreckage, in the debris. It looked like they had like these green rain suits on. And I suppose they were probing for bodies or whatever, I don't know. But this was quite a while, a couple months almost after, let's see when this was.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, you bet.